From one street to another, forces loyal to Libya's renegade General Khalifa Haftar storm into the eastern city of Derna. After heavy fighting, his troops have taken control of strategic locations in the city.
In 2 or 3 days, we can say that the battle will end in the city of Derna. We are currently in the seaport of Derna, which is now under our full control. Some terrorist groups can currently be seen in some streets, and God willing, within 2 or 3 days, we will eliminate them completely.
Haftar's forces entered the city on Monday morning. They have been laying siege to the city for the last 2 years. According to Haftar's forces, fighters allied with the Derna Protection Force, previously in control of the city, are retreating faced with artillery fire and airstrikes.
I can tell you that the enemy is completely collapsing. There are only some remnants of the terrorist groups who are moving from a building to another, from an alleyway to another, and hiding among civilians.
Civilian areas, including schools, have been damaged in the fighting. Egyptian and UAE warplanes have been supporting Haftar's forces by targeting several areas in Derna. Dozens of people, including civilians, have been killed since Haftar announced the battle for Derna on the 7th of May. The city is short of basic needs, including food, water, and medical supplies. Renegade General Khalifa Haftar is accusing fighters in Derna of being terrorists. But they deny that and say they have defeated ISIL in the area. They also say the Tripoli-based government does not seem to be able to intervene to end this conflict despite the heavy toll on civilians. Mahmoud Abdelwahed, Al Jazeera, Tripoli.